Welcome po sa Opinion Dpwh channel. Mga kababayan, sabay-sabay po natin panoorin ang balitang ito at sama-sama tayong mag-react sa comment section. Please support my channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
Senate President.
Well, before you continue with your hearing, Mr. Chairman, may I just throw a question? Actually, it's from left field. Either former Secretary Babe Singson or the DPWH representative. I just want to know what is there in the DPWH Quezon City office that was burning a few hours ago. Alam doon.
If I'm not mistaken, this might be part of the Region 4A office. Tama ba? Kasi kung yun yung nasa Kamuning area, I'm not sure. But I know there are one or two offices along EDSA in that area, Quezon City, 4A. So I hope it is not our zone.
I just thought that the media would like to would be interested to find out. Miss, the ASEC of DPWH.
ASEC Villar.
Yes, Your Honor. This is actually Region 4B, the Regional Office 4B of the DPWH.
4B.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mindoro.
Ito po yung dito po ang site ng testing materials ng DPWH ng mga suppliers like semento, mga bakal. Dito po tinitest. So, we are looking into it already. Pero ito po yung testing site nung
Testing site. Wala mga dokumento ron?
Of course, meron po, Your Honor.
Naku.
So, testing site, with the permission of the Senate President, testing site and the office of the Regional DPWH Region 4B. Okay.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yung mga dokumento ng Regional Office of the DPWH Region 4B is housed in that office.
Well,
A number,
a number, but most of it naman po nasa database na ng central. So,
Okay. Yes,
Sir, GMA News has reported that the fire specifically affected the Bureau of Research Standards building. That's what they said. Bureau of Research Standards building.
testing.
testing po, Your Honor.
Yes, Justice Andres Reyes,
Yes,
go ahead.
with due respect to that office, as per testimony of witness Bryce Hernandez, there is 1% for the testing office of the DPWH. Per voucher is 1%. Thank you.
So the 1% documentation is gone. Okay, thank you for the information. I understand, Senate President Drilon, you were suggesting, considering that this is only 3 pages, that you'd like to go through. Go ahead.
Yes, in order to maximize our time, Mr. Chairman, if I may, first, after listening to our the resource persons, first we must emphasize that this is a fact-finding body that we are trying to form. The power is to investigate, not to adjudicate. It cannot conduct preliminary investigation, which is the role of the prosecution service, and it cannot much less adjudicate, which is a judicial function. So it is limited correctly to only investigation. Having said that, under our system and our constitution, the primary jurisdiction for investigation of anomalies is the ombudsman. The ombudsman is the primary body, but that does not prevent us from creating this commission. But having said that, we must strengthen our institutions of democracy that would exact accountability rather than keep on adding bodies. That is why I am in favor of this, in favor of the proposed commission, but it must be an ad hoc, it must have a sunset clause rather than perpetually having a duplication of functions. We recognize the Constitution. The Ombudsman has the primary authority. We strengthen the Ombudsman. For example, I read in the media that the Ombudsman has asked those who applied earlier to apply again, about 200 or so vacancies. So we must strengthen this because otherwise, the tendency, and I've been in this body before, the tendency of our structure is to keep on adding people so that you create a huge bureaucracy. Every problem that crops up, we solve it by creating an office. In this particular case, I am endorsing the commission creation because of the situation that we are in. But we should not forget the fact that our primary objective should be to strengthen our institutions of democracy that could demand accountability. And in this particular case, the Ombudsman. But we have to have this ICI, or however we will call it, because of the need of the times. But as I said, we must remember that this should be limited to fact-finding. In fact, that's recognized in the bill of the Senate President. It's only fact-finding and only limited to infrastructure projects. In other words, if another family case would come around, it is not in the purview of this body, because as the Senate President himself said in his measure, it is limited to infrastructure projects, past and present, but limited to investigation. In other words, it is a fact-finding body, and it will now recommend to the Ombudsman or to the prosecutor the prosecution of cases. But commenting on certain areas,
On the issue of the sunset provision, what timeline are you looking at?
my just off the top of my head, subject to further discussion, the term of the present administration, June 30,
28.
2028. But it's just something that we make as a reference. As I have no problems with my issue is it must have a sunset provision so that we will not have duplications. But to address the need for inadequacies in the system, we should strengthen the Ombudsman. We strengthen the COA by adequate funding. That's my submission, Mr. Chairman. Rather than creating a permanent body which will again investigate or do work or do the functions of the Ombudsman. That's my submission.
Yes, Chief Justice Puno, go ahead.
If, are you done?
Well, there are others, but I can.
You may interject, Chief Justice Puno, in relation to the points earlier said.
I would like to former Senate President Drilon to continue. And then I'll also have my time
Okay.
to comment on
Okay,
the
yes.
specific provisions of the Senate bill.
Yes.
So, okay, just on the, going back, on the remedies or the powers which one of our resource person mentioned, the issuance of an HDO, I would not agree that we place this in the hands of an administrative body. It must be a judicial determination because it involves the rights of individuals to travel, the right to abode. If you an HDO is a very powerful power of government, and to allow it must be a judicial finding. Other administrative remedies we would endorse depending on
Perhaps the minimum would be a lookout order.
lookout order. Yeah. Now, The controversial issue, Mr. Chairman, is the power to hold a person being investigated in contempt. We should be very careful here because of the right against self-incrimination. Remember that the persons being called to the hearing of the ICI face potential criminal liabilities. If the ICI or the body is empowered to recommend the prosecution of people. And having said that, if one invokes his right against self-incrimination, we cannot order the detention of that person until he cooperates. The example in the Senate or in the House cannot be cited because the objective of an investigation in the Senate and the House is in aid of legislation. Now, on the other hand, the ICI or this independent commission can recommend the prosecution, and therefore we cannot. I have very serious reservations about granting them the power of contempt. We have on. I think we should
On that point, Senate President Rilon, what you're saying is the remedy perhaps of this body, of this proposed body, would be to go to court
yes,
and seek the contempt order from the court.
yes, sir.
And maybe the Court of Appeal, so that it's
Whatever, but it cannot be no, and the principle, whether it's in the regular court or in the or this body, where the contempt would require the answering of questions which can incriminate, whether it's in this body or in the court of law. In my mind, the right against self-incrimination.
for example. Well, we do have this case with the Discayas.
Yes.
They now refuse to cooperate with the ICI.
Yes.
Well, what is the remedy of the ICI? Or what should be
The remedy of the
remedy-
ICI,
Yeah.
the remedy of the ICI is
Justice Andres Reyes? You have the floor, sir.
Yes, I'd like to thank Senator Pangilinan, Animo, and Senate President Vicente Soto for this invitation. We thank you because our laws, our creation needs more powers, more refinement. Again, I will just echo what you have said earlier, that this thing is outrageous and makes me cry that how can these people get away with 500 billion pesos? It's our inspiration to work hard. We are only 39 days old. ICI is only 39 days old. For the last 21 days, we only had 3 lawyers. And now we have some volunteers from Dpwh and from the other agencies. But we will try our best to be able to full blast investigation of all this fraud. We don't have the facility and we don't have the rules of procedure, but we will already shorten the procedure in spite of no rules allowing us. We will now go on live stream next week. Once we get to be able to have the technical capability with us already. So again, I repeat, we'll be doing live stream next week. And thank you po.
Thank you, Justice Reyes, and that is welcome news that the ICI will do live streaming of its proceedings. People would like to know the facts of these cases and would like to be updated as to the developments and the progress of the investigation. And a live streaming of the proceedings will definitely address this concern of the public. Thank you very much. Secretary Babe Singson, do you have a opening statement? Please go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Senator Pangilinan, and good afternoon to Senate President Tito Soto. Sir, Your Honor, after being in DPWH for 6 years, full 6 years, I could not believe what I was hearing in terms of the magnitude of the corruption. And I tried to analyze, where did the system fail? It looked like it was all over. This is what we've learned so far after we've called witnesses. I think a total of 40 plus have been invited, including 8 senators, 4 congressmen, 4 secretaries, and several other personalities. But recognizing that the procedure, the legal process that we have to follow is so tedious. Bago po may makulong, ang haba ho ng proseso. As compared, you may want to consider, as compared to the 2 gold standards of anti-corruption, which is the ICAC of Hong Kong and the CPIB of Singapore. They have much more powers than all 3 of these agencies that we have combined. Now, as a result of the difficulty and because of the very strong clamor of our people, because of the massive corruption all over the place, under the leadership of Chairman Reyes, we invited a total of 20 government agencies to find out from them what are their administrative powers that we can immediately utilize in collaboration with these agencies. Marami po pala niyan. So we hope that the committee can consider some of these provisions. For example, under the Philippine Competition Commission, you have anti-competition provisions or bid rigging of bids that will penalize for the first instance immediately 100 million. Second instance, 105, 110, all the way to 250 million pesos per incident. We have also identified in other agencies like customs, like CAAP, but more telling is an old executive order, specifically 913. Senator President, 913 is the, you might want to pick up some of those provisions in EO 913 that gives immediate all departure order, immediate seizure of assets. Marami pala yun na pwedeng gamitin. So if it is already there, it is just a matter of putting all of them under your proposed bill, Mr. Senator. So with that, I will end my opening statement because I can discuss further details in terms of where, how much, and so on. But I will leave it up to the Senate.
Thank you, Secretary Babes. Just to clarify, EO 913 is a DTI executive order.
It's a presidential executive order,
But
empowering the then Minister of Trade.
okay, DTI. Thank you. From the Makati Business Club, Apa Ongpin, the Executive Director, please, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you. Oops. Lakas naman. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. One, we believe that all the ICI sessions should be public, but that the ICI itself should have the whatever authority to declare confidential sessions with no streaming or broadcast. Okay, because speaking as a former journalist, this can very easily turn into a circus. I mean, it already has in some cases. Okay, and the accused are, they're entitled to due process, and we cannot turn this into a public shaming exercise. No? We want to emphasize that the ICI, as the Senate President has already pointed out, should have additional expanded powers. They should be judicial, investigative, and even confiscatory. Like the PCGG used to have. So, power of subpoena, power to declare in contempt, and which includes arrest and hold orders after due process. Okay, the commission, whatever we call it, should have the authority to file cases without going through the ombudsman, the DOJ, the Attorney General. We believe it should be that powerful. We propose that the commission be expanded far beyond its current. I mean, there's 20 of these guys right now. It needs to be maybe 10 times the size just to deal with the huge volume of cases, let alone the huge volume of money involved. No? And it should be expanded beyond infrastructure. What we're seeing now, as I think Professor Abante will tell you, is that these guys, the same guys in Congress, and they're worming their way in now to the ayuda, into the social welfare programs. Diba? That's how they're trying to take the money. It's beyond infrastructure. And, as we've always said, we want eyes on Bureau of Customs and Bureau of Internal Revenue. Let's not pretend that there's no corruption there. The ICI or the group should have fiscal autonomy and security of tenure. I mean, in order to be really independent, okay? We believe that, and in fact, future appointments need to be approved by a wider group than just the president at this point. It's just the palace who's appointing people to this thing. No? And finally, we feel that, like Secretary Singson has said, we should look to the examples of Hong Kong and Singapore, and study the charters of those organizations, because although they have slightly different legal systems, those organizations have been very, very effective, obviously, in comparison to our own past experience.
Thank you very much, Apa Hong Pin of the Makati Business Club. We now have People's Budget Coalition. Professor Kenneth Abante, go ahead, you have the floor. Where do you teach, Professor?
I teach at the Kennedy School the summers, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay. My school. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, Senate President Soto, honorable members of the committee. We are the People's Budget Coalition. Kami po ay grupo ng more than 40 people's organizations and civil society organizations pushing for a transparent, participatory, and accountable budget process. Inaral po namin yung insertions and yung budget documents over the past 20 years. Allow us to share inputs po on what we've found. think going directly to the subject of today's hearing, we in the People's Budget Coalition support the urgent passage of the Independent People's Commission Bill, empowering it with the powers of contempt, mandating that hearings be open by default unless there are critical meetings that need to be kept confidential, that it be given fiscal autonomy, and that it proactively disclose the tracking of cases pending before the judiciary related to cases of corruption. I was listening to Representative Chel Jokno's interview yesterday about some cases pending before the Sandigan Bayan aging 40 years, Mr. Chair. We think these are critical to be resolved. Today is the first anniversary of severe tropical storm Christine. I am a typhoon survivor and disaster response volunteer that unfortunately we are victims of this massive corruption scandal. Unfortunately, and the tragic truth, Mr. Chair, is that we have lost trust in the integrity of our budget, procurement, and justice systems. We organized rescue relief medical missions in communities po na 2 linggo baha sa Bicol region. There were teachers who needed to do GCash drives in order for their students to go back to school because all their learning kits and even their houses were destroyed by this massive typhoon. Rainfall worse than Ondoy, Mr. Chair and Senate President Soto. That is why our hearts break whenever we heard the news that the 18 major river basin master plans, the major river basin master plans would have just cost 700 to 800 billion pesos. Pero po yung ginastos na sa flood control over the past 10 years ay around 1.7 trillion. Meaning, kung naayos po pala natin yung sistema ng pagplano, sana kami sa Bicol ay hindi binaha ng ganun kalala. Sana po ay ang mga teachers ay hindi nawalan ng mga bahay. Sana po ay hindi sana namatayan at nagkaroon ng serious injury yung aming mga kapwa Bicolano. So this Independent Commission's People's Commission Bill is to us an important cry for help and justice. It is one of the demands of more than 320 organizations and individuals, including Cardinal Ambo David and our bishops, calling for systemic reform after the flood control scandal. We will give you a copy of this statement, Mr. Chair, for the record, and calling for the elimination of pork patronage and opaque budgets in the House version of the budget. At least 256 billion pesos still in the House version of the budget, Mr. Chair. The people are angry. The people want justice. And one of the reasons why we're discussing the Independent People's Commission bill is because in our discussions, we lost trust in the previous ombudsman that was not able to file cases aggressively for those with highest crimes. We consider our justice system to have 2 tiers, one for the rich and one for the poor. Nauna pa pong makulong ang mga nagprotesta laban sa katiwalian kaysa sa mga tiwali. And lastly, Mr. Chair, we wanted to give the Commission and the committee a sense of proportion about the current flood control scandal. It is only a drop in the bucket, Mr. Chair. The Sumbong sa Pangulo website has around 547 billion pesos worth of flood control projects. Over the same time period, 2018 to 2025, around 1.2 trillion pesos po yung actual na flood control budget. So we have to ask, what happened to the rest of the half? Have these been completed? We need to know, and the people deserve to know. And then finally, Mr. Chair, with regard to the insertions, it's actually only, flood control is actually only the minimal insertions to the budget. Kahit na mukhang malaki, the real insertions over the past years where there is data from 2018 to 2025, 828 billion pesos po yung may congressional insertions to the Convergence and Special Support Program, to the local program 237 billion, to the Asset Preservation Program around 163 billion, and yung flood management program po only around net of 22.8 billion pesos. So we're only seeing, minuscule amount dito po sa flood control budget, and we hope that the Independent People's Commission can also look into these even more massive insertions that happened. We are happy to also share our findings about each of the reforms to the budget preparation, to the budget legislation, execution and accountability stage that we saw vulnerabilities of. But I will pause my statement for now, Mr. Chair, Senate President Soto. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Thank you very much, Professor Abante.